So Kelby was talking about habits and patterns of behavior. And that's something that is very much on my mind because Glenn and I are in a Monday night class through the Global Truth Center Los Angeles called Quantum Habits. And it is using this book by James Clear, Atomic Habits. And fantastic book. Oh my gosh, am I ever enjoying this book. And it's just so good because even though this is about physical habits, the energy and attention and focus that we put into physical habits totally correlates with the energy, focus, and attention that we put into what's going on in our mind. How are we thinking? How are we creating our life experience according to the thoughts, the beliefs, the stories, whatever it is that is anchored in our mind. So the quote that we had for meditation was, environment is the invisible hand that shapes human behavior. Okay, so I just want that to sort of sink in for a moment and wonder, is there someone here who agrees with it? Is there someone here who doesn't agree with it? Environment is the invisible hand that shapes human behavior.
It's definitely a factor, but it's not entirely the case. There's definitely a factor. It's like almost a blank slate kind of argument, where it's like totally your upbringing and totally your environment that shapes you as a person. There's a lot of biology that's grounded in the physical structure of our brains that can determine that as well.
Thank you, Jamie. I really appreciate that. So yes, and there's even more and that I want to introduce now, because this is a New Thought Center. We are a New Thought community, and New Thought was founded in mental healing. So it's about using our mind consciously to create the life experience that we want to have, right? And if we're having an experience that we don't want to have, to create something new and different, using our mind consciously. So in the book, in one of the chapters, it says that successful habits are obvious, attractive, easy, and satisfying. And when it's talking about successful habits, it's talking more about the successful, good, life-affirming habits that you want to have, but a bad habit that is also constricting and having you playing small, it can also be effective if it is obvious, attractive, easy, and satisfying. Okay, because if you're getting something out of it, if it fulfills a need, if it solves a problem in some way, but you're not conscious about it, and it's habitual, a pattern that just, is automatic, then you're going to keep continuing it, right? Because there is some kind of payoff. It is solving some kind of problem. So the first law out of these 4 laws of a successful habit is make it obvious. And so in the book, James Clear talks about how habits are based on cues, and so the more obvious the cue, the more likely the response to that cue, i.e. a habit. Okay? And you do it again and again and again, and it becomes habitual, it becomes familiar, it becomes automatic to the point where you're not even thinking about it. Sometimes that's a good thing. A lot of times it can also be a not so good thing, right? And so what I was thinking about here, because we're given assignments every single class, and we had to, in the first class, Dr. Laurie assigned us 2 habits, and I was talking about this last week, about how I had my physical sort of clean up the office habit, which is going really well, and then she said, pick a spiritual one, and on day 2, I forgot to do the spiritual one, and I forgot to do it because it wasn't obvious and it wasn't easy. And even before I heard about this obvious, easy, attractive, satisfying business, I chose a different habit that felt really good, that I felt like, yeah, this is meaty, I'm getting something out of it, and I've been doing it every single day since. And then when I heard a little bit about the science behind it, I'm like, oh, well, that makes sense why this would be a better habit for me to lean into and get more out of, so to speak. And so one of the things that came to mind for me was, and this has been a lifelong thing, or as an adult, a lifelong thing. Food. I tend to be a person who is go, 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 have a list of things, a mile long to do, and I don't always make time to sit down and have a meal. And so when I am eating and I'm grabbing something, my desire would be, my preference would be to have some healthy, nourishing food around. And when there is healthy, nourishing food around, I will choose it every single time. But if there isn't, if there is something else on hand, I will go to the something else because it's available, because I don't have the time to make a meal, to chop some vegetables, to whatever it is that I would prefer to have. It's convenient, it's easy, it's obvious, and that's what I will choose. Now, the habit number 2, I already told you guys about that, how I forgot to, oh no, sorry, I didn't tell you about that. Habit number 2, the one that I ended up choosing, which was the better habit, is a few months ago, Glenn and I opened ourselves up to becoming homeowners again. And so I have what is called a spiritual mind treatment, which is an affirmative prayer for our new home. And it is something that we were reading together off and on, but inconsistently. And then when I decided this is going to be my second habit, I've been reading it every single day, most of the time together, so that we can like really focus our energy and attention on this. And it feels so amazing. And so it feels amazing because it's something that we really, really want. I mean, the satisfaction of owning our own home again, like, oh my gosh, I am so ready for that. And so what I did was, without even really thinking about it, I wanted to make it super obvious and super easy to be able to access this spiritual mind treatment anytime. So there's a copy on our dining room table, there's a copy in our bedroom on my nightstand, and there's a copy in my office. Those essentially are like the main rooms in our house. And so wherever I go, there it is, right? And so I got home really late the other night. I can't remember why. Glenn, most of the time, goes to bed before I do. But the salt lamp on my nightstand stays on so that I can see my way into the bedroom when I come in. So I came home from whatever it was, late at night. It was dark, in the house. And Glenn was already asleep. And I knew I'm going to read my spiritual mind treatment in bed because it's on the nightstand by the salt lamp that's on, and it'll be the last thing that I do before I go to bed, and that's what's going to be in my consciousness, right? In my subconscious as I go to sleep. I kid you not. I open the door. I'm like, I'm going to read it. I open the door. The light's not on, whoosh, and I completely forget. Because now I have to go and make my way around to my side of the bed, not knock my knee or whatever. It's a really, really tiny bedroom. And I don't want to turn on the light because I don't want to wake him up and I don't want to disturb him. Completely forgot until the next day when I woke up and I'm like, oh my gosh, the spiritual mind treatment, and it's right there. So because the cue wasn't there, I didn't remember that I was going to engage in this habit. And part of the reason that I really still needed that cue was because it was still a pretty new habit. So it wasn't automatic, right? And so this whole thing I'm talking about is not only do we need to put these practices into place, whether for our physical, spiritual, or mental expansion, but we need to be consistent about them. We need to be committed until they become so familiar and automatic, we don't have to consciously think about them anymore, right? Which takes me to last night, where I had an amazing experience. We had our very first board meeting with the new board of VTC last night. And I knew that it was going to be a good experience, a very positive and enriching and loving experience. I was not prepared for how much so. And it was so neat because I, along with the 2 other people who were on the nominations committee, interviewed everyone who was a nominee, except for myself. And so I knew, like, all of these people, and it was the first time, except for right after the AGM when we went downstairs to have our really short meeting, but it was the first time that we were sitting down to actually do business together. And it was going to be here, and then in a sort of like blip, we forgot that someone was renting last night, and so we had to go and do it elsewhere, and we ended up doing at Cherry's house, who is our chair. And it was just such a beautiful, nourishing, productive evening. We got to connect with each other. We got to support each other. People were asking questions. I got to see, like I did on the weekend, community like building in front of my eyes. It was so special. And so I drove home afterwards, and I was just on this high, feeling so great, because Sherry and I talked about it a little bit afterwards, and we were just so delighted. And then I got home, and I'm like, okay, like this is what happens after Elevate. This is what happens after when I used to have classes online, and my mind was just going, I need to unwind before I go to bed. And so my habit, which has been a habit for many years, is to grab the remote controls off the TV stand, go to the couch, which is super inviting. It's already extended. I put my feet out. There's a blanket. I put it on. Mercury, our cat, comes and she curls up, on my legs. And then I watch TV to unwind until I fall asleep. And then I'm sitting there and I wake up and I'm like, where was I? And I'm like rewinding and falling. No, so it's like, it's a good one until it backfires kind of thing, right? And so I know this. I end up going to bed later. I don't get enough sleep. I don't get restful sleep. The next morning, I'm not feeling great. This morning, the sun is shining. We had an awesome board meeting. I'm going to work out with my trainer, Gareth, whom I love. Everything is so good, and I'm not feeling good because I engaged in this habit that ultimately is not good for me, right? And so I'm like, okay, you know what? That is it. This is changing, okay? Because I'm in this class. I know about the obvious, attractive, easy, and satisfying. And so if you want to undo a bad habit, what you do is you do the opposite, right? And so the title of my talk before I go on is, how's your relationship with your environment? The quote, it said, environment is the invisible hand that shapes human behavior. And so when I get home and the remote control's right there because the TV's in the living room and the couch is looking super comfortable with the pillows and the blanket and all extended and everything, it's super easy to just nestle in there with Mercury and I'm down for a couple of hours, when really it's not the TV that I want to watch, it's the rest and the unwinding and the sleep that I really need, right? But most of the time when I go to bed, if I just go into the bedroom, I don't fall asleep easily, and then I wake up a million times. So I thought, okay, you know what? I'm changing this. I'm undoing this bad habit, and I'm going to create a good habit at the same time. So when I got home from the gym this morning, I thought, I'm putting the couch, I'm putting it away, so it's an L shape now. It's not this beautiful thing where I can stretch out, so it's not comfortable anymore, right? If I want to lie on there, then I got to pull the thing out. I took the salt lamp that's in the living room that is all beautifully, warmly aglow when we come home late at night, and I put it in my office, which is actually really good with the EMFs, right? As a computer and whatever. So I put it in the office, so that warm glow is now in my office, okay? It's not as comfortable or appealing in the living room anymore. I took the remote controls, put them in a Ziploc bag, opened the couch that has one of those storage things and shoved it inside, closed the couch, put a blanket over it so it's not easy to get to anymore. And we can't turn on I don't know where it turns on, just in the olden days there were knobs, right? There's no knob, right? So I have made it invisible. I have made it unattractive, I have made it hard, and I have made that entire experience just telling you about it unsatisfying, right? And yet, in my office is this beautiful salt lamp with this warm glow. There's a meditation chair. I put my earbuds right in front of it so that all I have to do tonight when I come home, instead of going into the living room and turning on the TV and falling asleep and not resting, is go into my office and sit down, put on some music until I get tired, and then go to bed, right? Now, I'm not going to forget about habit number 2 because that spiritual mind treatment is right on the same table as my little earbuds, right? And I actually did it today already. The salt, yes, right. But I actually did it today already, so that would be a bonus. So what I'm getting at here is that, yes, the environment can dictate and inform how it is that we behave, but ultimately, we're the ones who are in charge of our environment. And our physical environment is a reflection of what's going on up here, right? So we need to be more conscious about our choices. We need to really be aware of what it is that we are thinking, what it is that we are telling ourselves, what it is that we are choosing, what it is that we are creating as our life experience, because it all comes back to what's going on in here and what's going on in our hearts, right? So who's the boss of you? Is it your environment? Are you the boss, or is the environment the boss of you, or are you the boss of your environment, kind of thing, right? So basically, I'm so excited to go home tonight to not watch TV and to just unwind, which is what I really, really need to do, and to maybe have a better sleep, I don't know. But know that I have done something that is going to be more nourishing, more life-affirming. And that is something that we can choose every single moment of every single day for ourselves, right? We don't have to repeat the patterns that are automatic. We don't have to make the choices that we've made before. We don't. We are choosing every single moment of every single day how we want to show up, what we want to show up as. And so, once we let go of the stuff that we've been holding on to, grace that you mentioned earlier, once all of that goes, then just like Stephanie said, all that's left is love, right? And when we remember that, when we show up as that, that's when the remote controls get hidden. That's when the salt lab moves to the other room. And that's when I create space for myself to be nourished, and we make choices that are life-affirming and supportive, rather than those that are going to make us feel icky. Or, back to the affirmation, start to tune into and focus on the anger, resentment, and revenge about the past, right? So my questions to you are, how's your relationship with your environment? Your physical, your spiritual, your mental? Is it shaping you, or are you shaping it? And even if it's been shaping you more often, right here, right now, you get to make a choice to shape it instead. Okay? You can either shape your environment to support you in making conscious, expansive choices and practice life-affirming habits, or your environment can shape you as you unconsciously choose whatever is convenient and familiar. The quality of your relationship with your environment is entirely up to you. So I invite you, choose consciously. Thank you, and so it is.